Liebe Zuschauer, herzlich willkommen zu Inside Wall Street. Ich bin heute beim Bretton Woods Gathering und bei mir ist Martin Feldstein. Er ist Harvard-Professor für Wirtschaft und vielen Dank, dass Sie heute hier sind. Thank you for joining us.
Very happy to be with you.
When we see the US economy ahead, just 2 weeks ahead of the elections, are you afraid that we will have a change after the elections?
Well, it could go either way. I mean, the economy in the U.S. is recovering at a very, very slow, very weak pace. It's expanding, but the rate of GDP growth is actually slowed down. After the election, we have the fiscal cliff, the possibility of a sharp increase in taxes and cut in spending automatically happening because of the tax law. And if that happened, then 2013 could be a very bad year. We could go back into recession.
Also, one of the biggest problems is the high unemployment rate. So candidate Romney said he can create 12 million new jobs. Is that possible in the U.S. economy?
Remember, that's over 4 years. It's a big economy, and so that's not surprising. I think it's consistent also with what the Obama forecasts are. It would get us back at the end of 4 years still to an above 5.5% unemployment rate, which is what we tend to regard as full employment in the United States.
What could be a solution in your opinion?
We have to get rid of the fiscal cliff to begin with. There has to be a compromise so that we don't see this sharp jump in taxes. But then I think there's a kind of cloud hanging over the economy. Businesses are afraid of higher taxes, higher income individuals are afraid of higher taxes, and as long as that cloud is there, it's going to be hard to get businesses to invest or people to spend on discretionary items. So getting rid of that would help to move the economy, and I think that that's what would happen if Governor Romney gets elected.
And would it be helpful to see tax cuts?
I think that the most important thing is to make it clear that taxes are not going to be going up. That's what the fiscal cliff is about. But I think a combination of broadening the tax base, getting rid of a number of the special features in the tax law, and at the same time lowering tax rates would be very good for the economy. It would strengthen incentives, and it would do it thanks to the base broadening without increasing the deficit.
Mm-hmm. At the moment, we have the earnings season, and we see many companies are good with earnings, but the revenue side is very slow, and one reason is the crisis in Europe.
Yes, and also the fact that the dollar has weakened relative to the euro. So when profits get repatriated, remember, large American multinationals, a lot of their income is being earned abroad, a lot of their sales are abroad, and so when they translate that from euros back to dollars, it shows up as a smaller number.
What do you think about the current crisis in Europe? Do you see a solution? Is the ISM a solution in your opinion?
Well, I think what Mr. Draghi has proposed to do is a highly risky but possible way out. I think he's betting on the fact that Italy and Spain will correct their policies, and that if they do that in a year or two or maybe 3, the financial markets will come to see that they have budget surpluses, and at that point interest rates will fall without help from the ECB. But it's a very risky strategy because they may not develop those policies. He may start buying bonds on the assumption that they're going to stick to whatever policy they agree to, and then they could start to stray from those policies, and what could he do then? So I think there's a real risk that this will simply end up with the ECB buying a lot of bonds from countries that are really not living up to the kind of tough fiscal policies that are needed.
When you look into the future, what's your outlook for 2013 for the world economy?
Well, I'm not sure why anybody cares about that number, not just my outlook, but anybody's outlook, because, you know, in China it'll be a number like 8%. In the U.S. it could be a number like 2.5%. What's the point of averaging those two numbers? Or Europe close to zero. What's the point of averaging them? So I think one has to look at least area by area or country by country in order to get a sense of what's happening.
Martin Feldstein, thank you so much for the interview. Und Ihnen, liebe Zuschauer, vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Wir sehen uns bald wieder, auch hier vom Buttonwood Gathering.